Coming off of I had a good night. I could have had a really good. Well, it was really close. I was a hit away basically. Actually, I was Max Muncy's last at bat away, so that's what passed me. But I ended up with the Dodgers stack, as I talked about a lot yesterday. I ended up coming in second in it was like a $44. What is the power alley or whatever? It was $5K for first, $2K for second. Not a great payout structure. But it was nice to. It's the third time and I've been in the top two in that tournament in the last week. For some reason, I seem to just be doing well in that one. So that was nice. Sheets, how was your night? And we'll get into tonight's slate.
I did not do as well. Hopefully, Pingalori took my Seattle advice. Seattle had a nice game.
I played Seattle and I played the Dodgers, but the Dodgers I think really wanted.
And I'll tell you, man, who was bringing the heat was that Brian Wu last night. Oh my God, he had a very nice game, and they even took him out after 5 2/3, which is something to consider. You know what I mean? Like,
that's about the longest his leash has ever been. So
so
3 innings the game before.
So he was really doing well. Anyway, I'm ready to get after today. There's just all. I don't even want to waste too much time with the announcements of the content, but we got everything going on today. We're going to do an MLB preview show. We're going to do a golf preview show. We're going to do an NFL first look. I'm going to do a survivor pool thing at 3 o'clock. We're going to go live before lock at 6. We got. I have delusions about being able to go live at 11 p.m. as well to do a live sweat, and then a live PGA lineup build, and then I'm going to sleep.
At some point, you got to go to sleep.
Yeah, not to mention I got my fun I got to deal with today too.
Yeah.
So. For those, I dare you guys to say, well, what are you doing for the early DK slate? I don't know. Projections are up. I can't promise I'm even going to remember to move them. I'm probably going to play, but there's very little content I can promise for that. But aside from that, we're ready to go.
Just for those people who do complain out there who have a package, just want to say something like we are charging less than SaberSim in actually some of these cases, and we're offering all of our content plus SaberSim. So we do have SaberSim as a safety for any of these slates that you guys want. We have their projections up, even if Sheets doesn't get a chance to update his and Golden doesn't get a chance to update his. With that said, though, these guys usually do. So anyway, we'll get into the slate. All right, Texas and Toronto, the first one you got?
All right, let me pull up share my screen. Look at this. Yeah, we're correct. Oh, it's only because it's the only one that's going at 7:07.
We have no choice. This is okay. This is gonna be an ugly little baseball slate. All right, Texas and Toronto. You want to start it off real quick?
Yeah. So you have Kikuchi against Montgomery here, and I have Kikuchi rated kind of just like an okay secondary option here. I have 2 or 3 pitchers that kind of dominate my early ownership, and Kikuchi's not one of them. I have as kind of very, very secondary. He's owned a little bit less, but pretty efficient, I suppose. Montgomery, I am not getting too much of him. I thought I would get a little bit more, but I'm not. And as far as the hitting goes, just nothing really. I don't really have either of these teams as priorities.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to prioritize from this game, but I might revisit it later just because I just don't feel like there's that many spots to get different on a 7-game slate that probably turns into a 6-game slate. So I actually would include maybe considering some Blue Jays and maybe considering some Texas, but as of right now, I don't have any real priorities from this game. Kikuchi, it sounds fine. The problem is every time I look up every night, it's 10 runs for Texas, it feels like. It's like, all right. And it's against good pitchers they keep hitting. So I don't know. It's a little tough for me. All right. Houston and Oakland.
I have New York, Boston next.
Oh, sorry. Jesus. Yeah. Okay.
Is this the game that you think that there are weather concerns here?
The Red Sox looks pretty bad.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't check. I just see the rain cloud here. I didn't look at Roth yet.
Yeah, this one still looks a little better. It looks a lot better actually.
Okay. Because that's to me that's this is an important spot. I guess I'll just start. I currently have the Yankees as my top.
You have that New York game. Yeah, they're all at 7-10. So I thought you meant the Mets game. Okay. Oh, you are talking about Boston. Okay, I thought you were talking about the Mets in Arizona.
No.
We should share your screen, by the way.
I am.
It wasn't being shared. it wasn't. It has to be toggled over afterwards.
Is it fine now or no?
I toggled it over. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I thought you meant New York. Sorry, I went to the wrong New York game. All right, go ahead.
Let's start over. Hey, this is Sheets with Bobby. We're ready to get into today's slate. Texas and Toronto, neither of us like too much. Kikuchi's kind of a decent play, but not so much. So let's talk about Yankees Red Sox. We have some weather issues that might impact this game. We got to take a look at that a little later on. So who do you like in the pitching here, Bobby?
Wait, we're on the New York Boston. I don't.
You did it again. Look at that. We have no flow.
No, I said New York Boston. I started to say Alex. Yeah. What was wrong with that?
Nothing.
Pitching here. I was going to say I don't particularly love the pitching here, but mostly that has to do with weather. I think both these guys would be fine to take shots on if they didn't play if they didn't have the weather.
What about the hitting here?
Yeah, I think that both sides are interesting. Especially, I like the Yankee side a little bit better, but I'm not obsessed with it. As I pointed out, especially the lineup they trotted out last night for both sides for both of these lineups. I think you'll see better lineups out there today because it's a doubleheader. But I actually think that I would probably have more interest in the pitching now that I think about it than the hitting, just because I don't like it is one way to get different. You have these guys are going to be they're very cheap. They're going to be nearly unowned. I do think the hitting will be popular if the game goes. Like I said, I slightly prefer the Yankees over the Red Sox, and I think both are fine, but neither are my priorities.
Yeah, watch obviously the lineups again. Now it's funny, both the cheapos got there yesterday. The dude I forget which one it was. The Red Sox guy, or the Yankees guy, just came right out with a home run like it was
the Red Sox guy in the first inning. But that was the only thing they had off Rodon the whole night. So it's kind of a weird thing. Like if you played him, you were probably. I mean, Rodon's the highest scoring player on the slate, so you probably did something wrong if you played him. If not something wrong, but something that whatever happened didn't work out your way because.
Well, I currently have the Yankees and the Red Sox both as good plays. I don't have them as my top play, but certainly as both extremely good. So again, the weather's going to impact this a little bit, so we got to keep an eye on that. You're telling me that as of now, it's a little bit better than it was earlier this morning, I guess.
No, I didn't say that. I just said.
I thought you did.
No, I said that. I thought you were talking about the Mets game. I said the Mets game was better than Boston.
Oh, okay.
Because it'll clear earlier, but this one looks pretty bad.
Okay, so again, the good thing is it's an early game, and we'll have an idea of what's going on. But the bad thing is that game does get scratched. I mean, these are two of like the five, two of the five teams, honestly, that look pretty good. So we'll have to see how that impacts the slate a little bit. Yeah. All right, you want to move on to Oakland?
Yeah, and for what it's worth, it's not that I don't like those teams. I just expect them to be popular if the weather does clear. So I'm trying to do something else. Also, I think both offenses are way. I mean. Especially the Yankees have been overrated all year, but the Red Sox offense is overrated as well. These guys are both, and look, Rodon just proved it yesterday. I just think that they're going to get too much. It's like people see New York and they expect it to be like the old Yankees and Red Sox, and that's not the case anyway. All right, Oakland and Houston Sheets. I'll go really quick. Hunter Brown is going to be mega chalk. We saw how that worked out. Although he turned it around last night and had a pretty decent game. Did Verlander? It was actually you don't use. I always like that about Verlander and Scherzer back in the day. They would give up like 5 or 6 runs and they still end up somehow they'd end up with like 10 Ks and like 8 innings pitched in those weird games. But I do like Hunter Brown, and I am on the. Paul Blackburn is better than people think train, but I'm going to jump off of that today and play some Houston. I do expect Houston to have some ownership, so I'm going to have to figure some things out. I probably won't be full stacking if we lose the Boston game. If it's a 6-gamer, I probably will be doing like smaller stuff, but I do really like Houston today just because they've let me down 2 days in a row. So I'm going to see if they can do it a third time. So that's what I've got.
Because of the way Hunter Brown is priced, these Houston guys who are usually really expensive, I mean, they're still expensive. You're going to be able to get to them, I think, a little easier. So I think Houston's going to end up pretty popular as well. So I think that the combination of Brown and Houston is going to be, I think it's going to kind of show up in a lot of optimals and a lot of builds. So I just, listen, I reiterate what you said. I mean, Hunter Brown does. Well, you only said that he was the chalkiest. You didn't say he was the best, but I think that's by inference. He does rate to be, best value on the slate. I show him at 40% plus ownership, probably going to be higher in the big buy-ins. And listen, I will ask this, kind of like theoretical question, or I guess rhetorical question: Is Hunter Brown, is he ready to be a 45% owned SPY? You know what I mean? Like, is he ready for that from the DFS community? I mean, he's usually kind of like a pivot. Is usually a guy we play in low ownership. Is he ready to get yelled at by like all the DFS tilters? You know what I mean? Like that when he doesn't get there because of baseball variance as a younger pitcher at 8,200. I don't know if I'm willing to accept this 45% or even more ownership on him. He certainly looks like the best play, right? But I don't know. We'll have to, I'm not going to lock him in or anything like that. So this could be the Eric Johnson slate. You know what I mean? Just go play Oakland. And just
that was it. And the day before.
Yeah. Now again, I kind of reiterate what I said about Houston. Houston is going to look good as well. I think that if you play Houston, probably should not play them with Hunter Brown. And if you play Hunter Brown, probably play him without Houston.
I just want to point out that we're using Houston loosely. You could play literally 5K pitchers and you wouldn't be able to afford the 4 best hitters for Houston.
Oh, is that right? I didn't know that yet. Okay.
Yeah, like Altuve 6,400, Alvarez 61, Bregman's 55, Tucker's 57. So you're already talking about using up your salary for them. So I don't know if I necessarily agree.
Maybe you're right about
being as popular with those 4 guys because you really have to spend down elsewhere. But you probably will have some options. I just wanted to throw it out there.
I mean, if those Boston Yankee games, that game is played, you get both those cheapos there. I mean, it's
yeah, possibly. I don't know that those cheapos will play again today, to be honest.
Yeah. But yeah, I Hunter Brown does look like the best option. But he's going to be really chalky. And I'm just wondering if maybe I'm just overthinking it and too cutesy. Maybe we're going to go with the BobbyFi Goldie play and just go with the Paul Blackburn or something like that. Just to get a little bit different against all these Houston guys. Now again, if Houston's not being that popular, it's not as big of a deal. But I don't know, just looking for something other than Hunter Brown. Maybe I'm asking. There's another obvious. There's another obvious one within that price range we're going to get through pretty quickly. But yeah, Hunter Brown looks like the best play. Houston looks good if you can afford them, which you probably can't. And that's pretty much all I have.
Yeah, I did want to throw back, though, to what you said about the A's. I actually think this is pretty, like, Hunter Brown is occasionally a little bit wild. This guy's going to be a superstar. It's not even a question. But he's still young. I think if you're not playing Hunter Brown and you want to play maybe a chalkier Houston, maybe the right thing to do is to play some A's with them. Specifically, Noda, Seth Brown, and Kemp is 2,800 also. Langoliers is 2,700. Lawrence Butler is 2K. I think that playing 3 or 4 A's maybe in a stack is definitely going to be something I look into today, just because Hunter Brown has looked a little bit off lately. For whatever reason, these A's just are crushing the ball in Houston. Maybe we do jump on a little bit of the A's tonight if you're not going to play Hunter Brown. So I just wanted to throw back to when you started sort of alluding to that. I think it actually makes some sense today. All right. Sorry, Sheets, you want to start off Arizona and the Mets, the game that I kept trying to go to, but apparently was wrong?
Yeah, so you're saying that there's weather concerns here? Let me.
Yeah, what Roth said this morning was that it looks really bad in Boston and in New York. All the stuff. Yeah, no, but I'm just getting to it. All the stuff that's happening in Boston is just going to clear a couple hours earlier in New York.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, Mrs. Sheets forecast is not that bad.
Okay.
I mean, it might get something in the afternoon, but it doesn't look like it's going to spill over. I don't know. We'll see though. Okay, so Zach Gallen to me is the. I was going to say kind of the obvious spend up. I think he's like the only spend up, right? I'm not sure who else you can play. I guess we'll talk about some stuff, but Gallen looks obviously really solid. And I have to say that I kind of want to. I don't want to, but want to consider playing some Lucchesi also. So I like both the pitches. Totally different, obviously. Totally different approaches. One is actually, good floor, good pitcher, whatever. But Lucchesi's cheap. And if you want to avail yourselves of some of the higher bats, then maybe that's a good idea. With respect to the hitting here, I can't imagine playing the Mets. And I would have thought that the Arizona guys would show up a little bit more, but they're really not. So I don't know. Both pitchers and not much else.
Yeah, I'm into Gallon and I'm into Arizona. I also think taking some shots on Lucchesi is a good idea. The thing is, I just have to double check like how many pitches he was throwing, because he had a weird thing. Like he was basically, he pitched it back in May, then didn't pitch again until 2 weeks ago, then was sent, or 3 weeks ago, then was sent back down, then was just called back up.
Yeah.
So it's a little hard to get a feel for it. I got to do a little more digging. But my guess is they probably stretched him out in the minors. I got to double check though before I commit to anything. And if that's the case at 6,200, you could certainly say he's in play. It's kind of strange though to see like the players in both pitchers who have been pitching all year, like for the Yankees and Red Sox, are going to be lower owned than this guy. I think I would rather do that. Lucchesi, I think, will have some ownership. I like the idea of getting to some Arizona today. I don't buy this bullpen from the Mets. The Arizona had all kinds of chances that they didn't capitalize on yesterday. I like them against lefties in general. I think this is a good spot to attack Arizona. So I would have Arizona very, very highly rated today for me.
Really? Okay.
And I even though I like Zach Gallen because it's a small slate, in lineups where I don't play Zach Gallen, I probably will throw it at Pete Alonso or one of these Mets to try to get a little bit different. Sort of like my Oakland idea, just to try and leverage out the field, because I think I have a feeling we're going to have a 6-game slate by later today. But just all right. All right, Miami, Milwaukee. What do you got here, Sheets?
I mean, pass. I mean, I really don't have too much here. McGill opening. I didn't even know McGill got traded. So McGill opening up for Ray at 6K. Not really. Garrett 7,700. I mean, these are just non-projection based plays. I mean, I'm not getting either of these guys. I'm just trying to come up with something. So really not much. I mean, probably the game's a pass. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't mind Garrett, and I also don't mind Milwaukee. Probably not going to get to Miami, but wouldn't fault you for anything. It's a stadium upgrade for them. It's not like they're facing aces out there. So I have everything as fine in this game, but nothing quite as a priority. I certainly don't mind the idea of getting to a little bit of Milwaukee or a little bit of Garrett, but only because it's a small slate and we're trying to find other things to do. Not like I love any of it, but hey, Milwaukee certainly got to what's his name, Luzardo the other night. Why couldn't they get to Braxton Garrett, who's not quite as good a pitcher as Luzardo is?
Yeah.
Basically, you have one lefty who's better than the other, so maybe Milwaukee isn't too bad an idea. All right, start us off with the Dodgers and Padres.
No, I won't. I'm going to start you off with KC and the White Sox.
Will you please do that? Actually, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah. So KC White Sox, I got something for you here. All right. So I got something. I got a couple of things for you here, and you ain't gonna like either of them. Actually, so Mike Clevenger is the next guy. As far as value goes, I have Hunter Brown rated clearly the best. And then as far as value goes, I then have Clevenger next, and certainly makes sense. Very short slate, not a lot of pitching here. I think that if Clevenger gets up a little bit too popular, Kansas City just always looks cheap. They could always bring it. Not only that, even if Clevenger's not bad, Casey scores a lot of runs in the later innings. They just do. So even if Clevenger has a decent game and holds Kansas City somewhat, I mean, Kansas City still has these late inning bursts that always seem to give me stress when I get that fade. When I fade them. So I think Kansas City's fine. So listen, this is just not for whatever, but I think I want to recommend Alec Marsh here. Every time I think about these long relievers, it always I always think about it. This guy, I'm just looking at a couple of the guy has 100 strikeouts per inning. I mean, like his last start, he pitched 4 innings, 6 strikeouts. 2 games ago against Seattle, in 5 2/3, he had 9 strikeouts. The game before that against Oakland, 5 2/3, 9 strikeouts. And if they might be onto something with this system with him. and he's against the freaking White Sox. We played righties against the White Sox before. He's 5,500. I'm gonna. Who's gonna play a guy that's 0-8? I suppose. I don't know. I kind of like him on a short slate. So that's my stupid play of the day is Alec Marsh. But I think both Clevenger and Kansas City are also Clevenger, obviously, and Kansas City as well.
Yeah, it's a pretty ugly game weather-wise. I just want to point it out. Like, we'll see where the wind ends up. And earlier this morning when I looked, it was coming in from left field. Now they've got it across the field, but it's 64 degrees, and there is 10 miles an hour of wind. So wherever it's pointing is actually going to be somewhat relevant. Yeah. Because the White Sox are the stadium that, no surprise, the Cubs number 1, the White Sox number 2, the stadium that wind affects the most. I'm fine with the Clevenger play. I can't say that I love it at chalk, to be honest. So I will probably look for other things as long as he's going to be 35% owned or whatever. But he's definitely, like, on paper, I certainly get it. And it's the kind of team that he tends to have a little bit of an easier time with because they chase early in counts and whatnot. But you could just look at Clevenger's game log and you could tell exactly what he is. He's an extremely wide range of outcomes pitcher. He has 30 plus upside, and he can even have negative 15. He has those days. So I like your idea of the Royals, and like a lot of people, I think are going to like the White Sox. But I'm sort of curious to see, like, if I get the 10-mile-an-hour winds blowing right in and it ends up 60 degrees by the time the game starts, I'm going to probably be off the hitting. Right now, I have it as my favorite spot to target outside of I guess my third favorite would be outside of I like Houston, I like Arizona. But I think I would definitely jump over to this game if we had like a little wind blowing out or something, just because when it starts getting cold, you want that little extra boost. Anyway, I like your Marsh idea. It's interesting. He does have a good strikeout rate. I always feel nervous when they don't announce the guy as a starter, what's going to happen. Like, you know what I mean? And he's been on a pretty consistent routine, but this is actually a day early for him. So just something to consider. Like, I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. But I as of right now, I think he makes perfect sense to play in GPPs. Like, if we're really, it's not even that unreasonable that he could be one of the highest scoring players in the slate. 20 fantasy points might be good enough on this slate.
Yeah.
So I'm into that idea, but mostly I like the offenses here.
All right, so then we got a really good game. And I'll start with it. Dodgers against the Padres. You have Snell, and you're one thing you were dead freaking right about in his last start. I mean, besides the fact that he had a nice game, nobody played him.
Yeah,
I mean, nobody. Okay, from lottery to the 555, literally nobody played it. And the only reason I think people are going to play him today, I mean, listen, the Dodgers are kind of a tough team to play pitchers against, just because the slate is just so small, and there's just nobody with like a high projection that I think people are going to play him. That's when I say play him, I don't mean they're going to play him 40% or anything like that. No. He'll be double-digit owned. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like whatever. I have this in my head that Snell not every once in a while, I mean, for like a long time, has shown up against the Dodgers. Just has. And so I kind of like everything in this game. I like some Snell. I do like the Dodgers as well. Listen, in a similar way, there's not any great pitching on the slate. There's not that great hitting on the slate either.
Right, you're desperate for.
So you get a. I don't want to say you get the bad Snell, because, as you pointed out, there really hasn't been a bad Snell game. We keep waiting for it, and it just never happens. Right. But short slate, you can have a little more vision. And I think even if Snell has a decent game, the Dodgers can do well. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like, So I like that. I also like the Pepe ode a little bit. Again, only because it's a small slate or whatever it is. And unfortunately, I also like the Padres. I mean, I think that this game is very conducive to a late night sweat show. You know what I mean? Like, the only game left. It'll be the only game left. You know what I'm saying? Also, I kind of think that something can happen out of this game, and it has certainly nothing to do with the projections, because neither pitcher shows up as a good value. And quite honestly, I mean, I'm looking at the hitting here. I mean, neither team shows up as a great value hitting wise either. but it's a short slate. You have talent all over the place, from the pitching to the hitting. And on a slate which rates, now you really want to pin me down here, I think the slate scores really low, right? If that's the case, give me some upside somewhere. You know what I mean? And I think this game has it.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I'm not going to get to Pepio, even though I can make an argument he's been the best actual pitcher on the slate since he started pitching. He still doesn't have enough of a leash. People will be like, oh, he pitched seven full innings last time. Well, he threw 84 pitches. That's not going to happen very often against the San Diego team. I'm not very high on San Diego either, but I certainly don't mind it. It's a small slate, and as you know, Pepio's been good, but he's around the plate, and certainly some power upside for San Diego. Another weird day where the best hitting weather may actually, well, I guess it's a little bit cooler today in LA, only 70 tonight with a little wind blowing out. But so I'll just go through some of Snell's history with the Dodgers. And this is not counting postseason, which he dominated us completely in that Tampa Bay series. Sorry, I said us. I do that sometimes. He has a 32% strikeout rate against the Dodgers. He also has a 16% walk rate, which is pretty high. He hasn't given up a ton of power to these Dodgers, but I still think there's enough upside for the lineup. I'm probably going to have some Snell, and I'm going to have some Dodgers probably tonight. I'm not getting to San Diego currently, but I don't mind it. And like I said, I'm not getting to Pepio right now. And I actually think that, I'm curious if anybody actually does get to Pepio. I don't think they will. Maybe I'll include him in the mix of guys who I throw into a lineup or two if no one plays him, because I don't think they're going to. Just a little too much. It doesn't really make sense to pay $8,900 for him in this matchup. So my sum up is, I think that because of seeing where the ownership goes, but I think I'm going to put Arizona and Houston as my top two, and then you get into the White Sox KC game, and then the Dodgers is probably who I'm going to be choosing from. But if something happens, I'm going to let ownership dictate a lot. If Milwaukee looks like they're going to be lower owned, or maybe you get some funky lineups in there, I'm probably going to take some gambles. If it's 50-50 with the New York-Boston game, I'll probably get some exposure to that game and maybe be ahead of the field. If you know what I mean, if it's anything more, I probably just fade it. And then my pitching is priorities natural ones would be Brown, Clevenger, and then spend ups would be Gallen, Snell. But I like the idea of mixing in some different guys, maybe mixing in a little bit of Garrett and Kikuchi. And you kind of talked me a little bit into your Alec Marsh play. So obviously I'm not totally decided. It's early in the morning, so I'm not going to have, hey, here's what I'm doing today. But these are my thoughts, and then I'll firm them up at 6 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, so I got a couple of things to mention. First of all, I did run the Sabres build. I'll just kind of tell you the results. And now, again, I presume that all the games we're going to play. I was getting the majority of the exposure on the Yankees. And then actually the next three were Houston, San Diego, and Kansas City, actually. The thing I wanted to mention is that it's a 7 p.m. Lock on DraftKings, but 640 on FanDuel, because there's 3 other games, I think, that are available on FanDuel. And one of them has Spencer Strider. Okay. I did put sheets up for it. We didn't specifically go over it. So obviously it's a completely different slate because of the presence of Strider and the Braves, for that matter, right. On the slate. So we are still gonna, I think, gonna roll it at 6. Yep. But I want to spend a couple of minutes on the FanDuel when we get in there.
That's a good idea. Thanks for pointing that out, by the way. I just saw the tournaments this morning and jumped the other way. So yeah. it's getting really bad. It gets really grim at the end of the season with FanDuel tournaments sometimes. Yeah. Yesterday we had a good one, but usually we don't. Okay, guys. Well, it should be fun tonight. Me and Cheats are going to jump over and do a golf and then an NFL show. And I hope you guys have a great day. We'll see you live at 6 Eastern.